we actually had one of the more interesting group, and we were trying to figure out how to measure the inexperience within construction at points. And so we boiled it down to two topics. Really the two that we found were around schedule as well as design and that handoff.
But also an experience between the different disciplines. So people who are doing design and coordination that don't really understand how it's going to be built in the site. So there's that disconnect that we're trying to kind of solve for.
So this really relates back to classroom work because we can help, our next generation learn kind of the basics, but until they get out into a job and start facing real problems, getting that decision making and that construction knowledge that they need is really tough. So understanding how we can actually get them with mentoring or learn from those that have already experienced some of those challenges so that they can avoid them in the future is really essential.
So we're going to go a little bit different here. We're going to start with a skit, and Hamza is our architect designer. We got Sal, our GC, and we want to see if you guys have ever seen this scenario. Ready, set.
You my designer?
Yeah.
You think this works? You ever build a building in your life?
What are you talking about? What's the problem?
Well, you vented every plumbing fixture on the whole job. We're only going to vent about 10% of them. Wait till my electrician sees this.
Dude, stop yelling at me. It's not my problem.
Whose is
It's
it?
field coordination.
No.
Hey guys, I'm the trade contractor. Y'all are spending all this time and you're building it on top of a beam.
Truth.
All right, well,
So, has anyone ever seen that? Does that look familiar? So, so a little bit about the design process, but Amelia's going to talk a little bit about what we changed our statement to, and then we're going to go through the process that we think for the new state.
All right, well, we had a couple of changes to our team objective. So now we've got how might we collaborate, cross-train, and capture lessons learned in ways that break down the root causes of common issues across the project development cycle so that we can create complete designs and realistic schedules. So I think we just saw here how maybe our design team didn't quite know how buildings worked.
So I think during this process and what we were trying to show here is that a lot of times the teaching or the learning of construction might not always be with the different stakeholders. So the architect or engineer on the project or the general contractor or trade contractor. And a lot of times in our sort of given, so we did given, when, then type scenario, what we realized in that current state before we can sort of fix the problems, we had this very linear thing, and these don't come out until they're like RFIs, change orders, and like we maybe already are building the building, right? And that's the worst case, super expensive. And so one thing that we forgot to talk about earlier is the stress this causes as it goes downstream. It's like one of the biggest impacts to the trade contractor or everyone down, right? General contractor going through because faster, quicker, better, cheaper, go, go, go. So this is our current state. And then what we realized is in our future state, what we wanted to do is we're going to have a project team of the architect, we're calling architect, engineer in one, general contractor and trade contractor going through the design review and schedule before it gets handed down to the construction team. So what we just saw happen here in this skit, we want that happening in the design process early on. And the reason why we picked the design process, I was using this sort of principle of essentialism. What's the one thing I can do today that will make the rest of my day and the rest of my week easier in the project? And what we realize is that the design really impacts schedule, it impacts cost, and so forth. So if we could start there with the contract documents, that's what we're doing. So the project team meeting would happen during the DD process and review design and schedule, right? What we were thinking is the core trades would be in there, MEP and F, core structural. And then during this time, this is when the collaboration training and lessons learned are going to happen. So the first time Sal, where's our GC, our architect? Oh, there he is. So the first time, you mean he comes and says, why'd you do that? So now look, so next time, are you going to do that again?
hell no.
Did you learn?
Yeah, but my team didn't.
Well, so this is the idea, though. So now, right, are we having this here? So then we move on, and then we go build. And so the one last thing that we said is, what will happen? So we have this new this new team, what will this do? The benefit. So this is what we're trying to measure, right? We're trying to measure. So are we going to have less RFIs, less change orders, right? Are we going to have less waste on the job? Are we going to be able to have a higher percentage of prefab on the job because now that we have it, or modular? And how can we sort of impact the schedule and procurement improvements? And down here, you have a little happy contractor with a thumbs up if you can't notice. And that's what's happening versus over here, we should probably have a sad face one. But the last thing in our process, which is sort of our hope to keep on teaching it forward, would be the retro. So no matter good, bad, or indifferent, after that project is delivered, let's do a retro and bring those learning lessons back to here again. And so again, the real big change in this process is how do we get the key stakeholders earlier on during the DD process to review to eliminate a lot of these issues we have downstream. So, anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, I mean, the end experience that we try to focus on isn't necessarily, so there's two parts of it, right? So there's the end experience, workers that are coming into the field, whether it's in the office or in the field. But there's also the end experience of the people that are actually doing the design of not knowing how it will be built, right? So that's kind of what we're trying to solve, is bringing that experience from the field to the design before it goes back to the field again. All right, so we're all a happy team here. Yeah. See, we're collaborating.